Hello everyone, welcome to the first Villains Vault video. This is going to be a series of videos where I talk about villains in fictional media and what makes them a great villain. Nolan, aka Omni-Man, was the first character that came to my mind when I thought of this. So here we are. Say what you want about Nolan. Maybe you don't classify him as a villain. Maybe you would call him an antagonist. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, I can call this series Antagonists Vault, but that doesn't sound as catchy as a Villains Vault. I'm only talking about Nolan from season 1 from the show. We're not going to go any further than that because I'm sure most of you only watched the show and I don't want to spoil anything in the comics. I'm gonna list a few points what makes Nolan a good villain, and before we begin, be sure to like and subscribe. Nolan may look identical to humans, but he's actually an alien known as a Viltrumite. Viltrumites are said to be one of, if not the strongest species in the universe, and they built a paradise for themselves on their home planet. However, it always hasn't been that way. The Viltrumites essentially waged civil war on themselves. This was a survival of the fittest tactic, where the weaker Viltrumites will perish and the strong survive. The Viltrumites continued to slaughter one another until only half the population remained. By the time Nolan was born, the Viltrumites had conquered the galaxy and were now expanding their empire outwards. Though sending an army of Viltrumites to conquer a planet was proving to be inadequate because they're thinning their resources, so the Viltrumites came up with a plan to select only one Viltrumite per planet to conquer that planet. Nolan was given Earth, and it is here that he meets Debbie. They fall in love and have a kid. And this is where the seed of where Nolan's loyalty lies has been planted. Is he loyal to Viltrum, or is he loyal to his family? Nolan made a name for himself while on Earth, not as a Viltrumite who is here to conquer them, but as the hero who is here to protect them. Nolan and the Guardians of the Globe are Earth's greatest defense. The Guardians of the Globe work under a man named Cecil, and although Nolan and the Guardians of the Globe may work together from time to time, that doesn't mean Nolan is a member of the Guardians of the Globe. They've tried to assimilate Nolan into their organization, but Nolan is reluctant to join. At the end of the day, Nolan knows who he is, a Viltrumite. His mission is to conquer the Earth. That's the task he was given, and he's going to do it alone. So why would he need help being a superhero? To Nolan, teamwork is a crutch. He is willing to work with them, but he's not there because he needs their help. He's simply there to do what he must. Once Mark gets his powers, Nolan is ready to proceed with his plan. He signals the Guardians of the Globe to return to their HQ, where he attempts to ambush them and kill them. The ambush fails, but Nolan picks the Guardians of the Globe off one by one. Nolan has made the decision to drop the role as a superhero and return to the role as a Viltrumite. Him killing the Guardians of the Globe means two things. The first is that the Guardians of the Globe being out of the picture is going to make it significantly easier for him to conquer the Earth. The second is that killing them sends a message to the planet. He's essentially saying, yeah, I killed your champions. They were the best this planet had to offer. So you can send anything else against me, but the results will be the same. Nobody knew this better than Cecil. After Nolan kills the Guardians of the Globe, there is a subplot of Damien Darkblood and Cecil trying to unveil who the killer is. Both of them suspect Nolan is the culprit they're looking for, but they have separate approaches. Damien Darkblood has no shame showing up to places unannounced. He's also rather vocal with his opinion that Nolan is the one who he's looking for. He even straight up tells Nolan that he knows Nolan killed the Guardians of the Globe. Damien goes as far as turning to Debbie for answers before he figured it all out. He doesn't get nothing from her, but he lays thoughts in Debbie's head that leads to her to suspect that her husband may very well be the one who killed the Guardians of the Globe. The show doesn't focus too much on Debbie suspecting Nolan, but she too is undergoing a mental change. She becomes slightly cold and distant from her husband. Nolan is enraged that Damien confronts Debbie, and he could easily kill Damien, but he is aware that he could create more issues. Everyone knows that Nolan is the one that Damien suspects, and it wouldn't be a coincidence if he turned up dead. The prime suspect would be Nolan. Damien Darkblood alone has caused Nolan enough worries, but he also has Cecil to be concerned about. Nolan knows Cecil suspects him, and Cecil knows that Nolan did it, but he doesn't want anyone to know yet, and he even sends Damien Darkblood back to hell to prevent the truth from getting out. Cecil knows Nolan is very powerful. He's not willing to take any risks. If the news were to come out prematurely that Nolan killed the Guardians of the Globe, then they're going to be in deep trouble. How are they going to defeat Nolan? I don't even think Cecil knows, but they still have to prepare. One of the most important scenes from the first season involving Nolan is when he goes on vacation with Debbie. It's visible that something is on his mind, and he tells Debbie that he's not being honest with her. Then he says that Cecil suspects he is the one who killed the Guardians of the Globe. The latter sentence has a double meaning. He says he's not being honest because Cecil suspects him as the culprit, because he also hasn't been honest because he hasn't told his wife why he is really here on Earth. Debbie says that he didn't kill the Guardians of the Globe, and interestingly, Nolan doesn't confirm that he didn't do it, but he doesn't deny it either. He just says that he's the only survivor, he's not human, and Cecil never liked him. If worse comes to it, Nolan tells Debbie that things could get ugly. Nolan has already made up his mind. He is going to do what he has to if the time comes. This revelation has Debbie worried, but Nolan isn't concerned about challenging Cecil. What has Nolan worried is how Debbie and Mark will react when they find out that he is the one who killed the Guardians of the Globe and he is here to conquer Earth. Nolan wants assurance to know that his family is going to stay by his side throughout the entire operation. He asks if Debbie trusts him, but she's more focused on the dragon attacking the city. Nolan doesn't bat an eye. He needs to know that he can carry out his mission while keeping his family. Once Debbie says she trusts him, Nolan feels better. This goes to show how much he really cares about his family. He can easily take over the planet, but the only thing holding him back is losing his family. Nolan was upfront with Mark about a lot of his past, but not everything. He told Mark that one day Mark would get his powers because Mark is half Viltrumite. They don't know when he will get his powers, but he should get them. When Mark finally gets his powers, he's excited to share the news. When he tells Nolan, Nolan has this blank stare. Instead of sharing words of excitement initially, he instead asks if Mark is sure he got them in a monotone voice. His reaction, or should I say lack of reaction, is very telling of what is going on in his mind. Nolan says he's been waiting for this day because he wanted to see if Mark really is a Viltrumite. And once he sees for himself that his son is a Viltrumite, he kills the Guardians of the Globe. Nolan killing the Guardians of the Globe is him making the decision that he is showing loyalty to his fellow Viltrumites. He trains Mark, who is under the interpretation that his father is going to mold him into a superhero, but that's not why Nolan is training him. He's training him and getting him ready for when they have to take over the planet. During their first training session, Nolan punches Mark, who drops to the floor like a rock. When asked why he punched him so hard, Nolan says that if Mark really wants to do what he does, which is conquer planets, then he needs to be ready. Remember when I said Nolan doesn't want to work as a team? Well, that goes for his son as well. He doesn't want Mark to be part of the teen team, nor the Guardians of the Globe. Nolan wants to train Mark himself, and to not be affiliated with anyone. I believe one of his reasons for wishing this to be the case is because he knows allowing Mark to work in a team will only create more problems if he were to side with his father. Look at the problem Nolan finds himself in because he started a family. He's struggling immeasurably to take over the Earth because he believes it will cause irreparable damage in his relationship with his wife and son. If Mark were to go along with his plan, then Mark would face the same difficulties his father is facing. Nolan spends the entire season contemplating how and when he is going to tell Mark the truth. Nolan has shown us that he is loyal to Viltrum by killing the Guardians of the Globe, but there's only one looming factor that remains. He hasn't told Mark yet. You'd think this would be the easy part. He's already killed Earth's best heroes, and all that is left is to break the news. But this took him 6 months, possibly longer, to speak up. Now, I know what you may be thinking. How has it been half a year? I'm glad you asked, and I'll explain. Nolan fights this tentacled beast kaiju, and he has to fight it again in episode 8. The news broadcaster says that Nolan is fighting the same beast he fought half a year ago. So, there you have it. Anyways, let's get back on topic. Nolan has been preparing for the moment he finally tells Mark. The man would go to the peak of a mountain in order to rehearse to himself. Since he is a soldier to the Viltrum Empire, he shouldn't let something so minor impede him from his duty. But it is. He's been practicing how he is going to tell Mark, so he's rather conflicted with himself to say the least. It's kind of ironic that Nolan's biggest challenge isn't defeating Earth's champions. It's telling his family he's here to conquer the planet. Nolan is the same man who traveled to another dimension to decimate a technologically advanced civilization and can perform the most outstanding physical feats the Earth has to offer. Yet he can't tell his family the truth. The battle between Nolan and Cecil begins, and Nolan overcomes everything Cecil throws at him. This battle is being broadcasted, and to make things worse, Debbie now knows he is the one who killed the Guardians of the Globe. Immortal shows up, filled with rage, putting Nolan in an even tighter spot. Nolan is forced to kill Immortal in front of his own son. Now he has to tell Mark the truth. Mark and the entire world just witnessed his father kill a fellow comrade. This isn't exactly how Nolan wanted to tell his son, but he does, telling him why he is really here. But Mark doesn't believe him. He believes someone is controlling his father. After all, Mark has known his father to be this clean-cut superhero his entire life, so this new side of him is very odd. But Nolan is telling Mark that nobody is controlling him. This is who he is, and he is going to do what he must. What I love about this scene is that Nolan is showing dominance. He is in control of the situation, but he's being sympathetic with Mark. He understands why Mark is upset, but he's presenting his plan as something virtuous. Yes, they're conquering the Earth, but that doesn't mean they have to shed blood. The two of them are capable of taking over the planet if Earth recognizes they don't stand a chance. They know that one Viltrumite alone bodied their strongest heroes, so just imagine what two of them could do. Granted, Mark isn't as strong as his father, but he is still powerful himself. Try as hard as Nolan might, Mark is not willing to side with his father and conquer the Earth, leaving him with no other option. After his attempt failed, Nolan becomes cold and assaults his son so that he can see his point of view. Nolan is putting the Viltrum Empire above his family. Nolan has become completely detached and is solely focused on getting his son to realize that there is no point in resisting. Mark tells his father not to do this and that it is not too late. Mark still believes that things can go back to the way they were, but Nolan shuts him down. He tells him that it is too late. He's already killed the Guardians of the Globe, and he has already told everyone why he is here. He knows that if he abandons his plan, things will not go back to the way they were. Nolan is trying to communicate to his son that fighting him is useless. He tells Mark that humans are lesser life forms compared to them. As an example, he crushes a man's skull with his bare hand. They're weaker and only have a fraction of their lifespan. In fact, they'd be doing Earth a favor if they conquer them, because Earth would have access to Viltrumite technology. Nolan was quite literally trying to beat some sense into his son, but it wasn't working. Mark continued to remain unwilling to go along with this plan, even if Mark couldn't move a muscle. Nolan portrayed himself in this massacre as not feeling any attachment to his son and wife. He says he loves Debbie, but his love for her is the same way one would love a pet, and that he has no need for Mark. There is nothing special about him, and that he can always have another kid. That's what he says, but Nolan is lying to himself, whether he knows it or not. If he really meant what he said, then he wouldn't have taken so long to conquer the Earth. The only reason it has taken him this long after Mark got his powers is because of the emotional attachment he has built with his family. If he really believed any of the things he said, then he wouldn't have been preparing on how he's going to tell his family and feel this extreme amount of guilt for hiding it from them. After Mark is beaten into submission, Nolan has a flashback with his family. In this flashback, he feels contempt and doesn't see a point why he has to watch Mark play baseball. To him, this is meaningless, but Debbie explains to him the joys of creating happy moments like this as a family. Seeing Mark succeed by finally hitting the baseball fills them all with joy. This moment right here is possibly when Nolan began to stop acting less like a Viltrumite and more like a human. He's not so focused on dominating the Earth after this, but more focused on being there with his family. Nolan is then unable to go through with killing Mark. He tries one last time to reason with Mark, telling him that resistance is futile. They live to conquer others and that they're going to outlive everyone on this planet. He then asks Mark what will he have after 500 years. This is his attempt to tell Mark that things are going to be very different by that time, and everything he is doing right now is meaningless. Though he received a response he wasn't expecting. Mark says that he will still have his father. Nolan is overwhelmed with emotions. He thought that he was loyal to Viltrum, but he is aware of the mistake he has made. But it's too late for him to go back to the way things were. Mark and Debbie might forgive him, but the rest of the planet will not, especially after the stunt he pulled. He murdered hundreds, if not thousands of people, and used his own son as a meat shield to destroy his subway to try to prove a point. That's not something people aren't going to forget for the rest of their lives. Nolan has been consumed by guilt. No matter how hard he tells himself that he is loyal to Viltrum, he isn't. Now he has nowhere to go. He can't return to his family, nor can he return to the Viltrum Empire without conquering Earth. So he does the only thing he can. He leaves the Earth and flies off into space. The last thing we see is his eyes full of tears and a face plagued with regret for the violent actions he's committed. This begs the question, did Nolan believe anything he said to his son during this fight? I highly doubt it. That was all just a facade. Nolan tried to go back to acting like a Viltrumite, but he can't because that's not who he is anymore. The Earth has changed him. He now thinks like a human and not like a Viltrumite. He thought he was a Viltrumite first and a husband and father second, but he couldn't be more wrong. That's gonna do it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. Please consider liking and subscribing. Make sure to hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.